So before we start working with the next projects, we're gonna see what is an API, a REST API, and what is a request. So let's start learning about APIs first. API stands for Application Programming Interface. It's a set of functions, methods, and tools available in a library. An API must be used by other software as an abstraction layer, and in order to access and use the service, you have to send a structured request, which is defined by the API. A nice example of an API is Google Maps API. When you add Google Maps into a website, you are using this API in another piece of software. This is an abstraction layer because you are not programming directly into the Google Maps API, but you send a structured request, for example, to tell the Google Maps API the zoom level, the latitude and longitude, where the pin is going to be displayed, the type of map that you want to display. Everything is going to be part of a structured request. You have to use the functions that the Google Maps API has defined. So then, in the other hand, we have REST APIs. So REST is representational state transfer. A REST API can be developed in any language. Even JavaScript, you can develop a REST API. It will describe how the resources are going to be available and how you are going to access them. A REST API must respond to the following requests: get, post, put, patch, and delete. Each API have its own set of rules, method, and structure. We're gonna work with some different REST APIs, and you are going to see that in order to use this, we're going to use different techniques to access the data. So let's review some examples of this request and something called the endpoints. REST API endpoints and request. A REST API must use endpoints, which at the end are URLs, to perform CRUD operations. So for example, if you want to retrieve all the clients in REST, you have to use a GET request, and normally it's going to be /clients, the endpoint. If you want to get a specific client, again, the request is going to be GET, and normally the URL is going to be /clients /the ID. In this case, for example, we are returning the ID 10. If you want to add a new client, it's going to be post. Post is going to add a new client, and the URL is going to be the /clients. If you want to update the client info, the request is going to be put. Then you're going to use the endpoint /clients and the ID, which in this case, for example, is going to be 3. Of course, this ID is going to be different based on the client that you want to update. Finally, if you want to remove a client, you are going to send a delete request to the URL /clients and then the ID of this client. So basically, this is REST APIs and endpoints with requests. We're going to start working with this in the next chapters. We're going to develop some examples using REST APIs, and you're going to see how easy it is to consume REST APIs in JavaScript.